5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm glad everybody in the world heard that countdown.
Oh, 5, 4, 3, 2. That's what he's in.
Hello, world.
Recording.
Not what we're recording, guys.
We're recording. No, we're recording.
Welcome to
All right,
the
all right, all right.
Here we are.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Throne Glow. Your lovable host, Holmes 504 here. I got JT in front of me. I got
And
the
over in
dome.
DC, we got the Dark Dome.
Oh, we got
Yep.
Dark.
Coming in 3 hours from the future.
Yep.
Yep.
The Dome Lannister over there.
Whoa, why did you put him in there? Okay.
Yeah, why?
Because he's
That's-
easy.
I mean,
Because
Lannisters are, spoiler, pretty much all dead.
Spoiler. No, here we go. We're doing the Throne Glow, right? This is
Yeah.
our hot takes reaction to
Yep. Super
Some
hot
things.
takes
super hot takes.
to this first episode.
Yeah,
of
guys, so
Game of Thrones.
If you haven't heard, Game of Thrones season 1.
Season 1.
Season 1.
Season 1 is out. you can watch that anytime you'd
Episode
like.
1, season 8. That is. This is our first episode, though. This
It is.
season 1 for the Throne Glow. So,
Yeah,
guys,
it's
think.
really episode
Alright.
68 total, by the way. We're on episode 68, season 8.
So shit gets turned
episode
upside down
1.
next episode.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, hot,
Alright.
I think it was
guys?
I think it was a definite. I mean, they did a lot of reunion. I mean, I think the episode should have just been called "Characters See Each Other Again." I mean, it was, which was great. It's kind of what I wanted. Like, there's. I mean, is there any real action? There's no real drama, really. It's just, I mean, a little bit, I suppose, but it was mostly like these characters kind of settling back in because they've been so far spread. I definitely think it was
Mhm.
there's been all this traveling and people in different countries and going on mystic quests and these and so this, and so this episode to me was like, all right, now people are kind of like consolidating and the shit is about to, it's the gear up episode, which is kind of what you'd, I guess, expect, right?
Yeah, I think they did need like a kind of like, okay, let's pause here, take a breath, revisit what the hell is going on, have these characters, see each other again, kind of set up for what's to come.
Yeah.
And if you notice the actual introduction where they do the theme music or whatnot, where they usually show the map at the beginning of the season,
Yeah.
that was a lot different, if you guys
It was.
noticed. And it focused mainly on 2 locations, which I think reflects how the season in general is going to go. It's not going to be all of this crazy spread out world building like they've already done all of that.
Mhm.
Oh, that's a good point.
And Cody, it's a lot more consolidation. So that intro specifically went through it built it, or it like showed the inside of King's Landing and showed the scorpion with the dragon's head and stuff. So it was because those intros have always been really good at foreshadowing what's coming up in the season in general. Kind of shows you where you're going to go. You can always tell if they're hinting at new locations just by the little introduction. So that was a lot different. So that was cool. But just in general, yeah, I mean, there were so many reunions, but at the same time, it felt like some of them didn't even get around to some of them, or some of them didn't feel like the John and Sam one. I wish that would have been a little better, but it was just like, well, whatever, it was towards the end of the
Right.
episode, but
Yeah, that did feel a little bit like tossed in there or something.
Necessary, but it didn't seem like, but, for an episode full of these emotional reunions, I mean, especially
I guess-
centered on John, like how many can you just hit really emotionally hard, like the whole episode should be John crying, hugging people, or it's
Right.
oh god, I mean, it's kind of
And
hard, but the
I
Sam did
guess
feel-
the important part of that was the news, not the reunion.
well,
They had to focus on.
so what did we
Yeah,
find
I
out?
mean-
So John he's something about
Well, we didn't find it out. John found it out.
he's something about he's got a blood I don't know. No, okay, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. So, obviously,
Well, I mean, just to stick on the reunions for just a second, the John and Arya one though, I thought that one was good.
yeah, I agree.
that
I
was
feel like they did that one really well.
And both of their new, like how their characters have developed, both stood out. Like Arya sneaking up on him,
And
of course, they
John,
immediately mentioned him
John
being.
asking, "Oh, have you used that?"
yeah. She said,
Yeah,
It's not-
and her ducking the answer is also, or ducking the question was kind of, it was like sly but not exact. Like this whole new Arya is still in full effect. Like she kind of regressed, if you will, into like kid Arya, where she was just so excited to see him, but she still got that. She also had the scene with the Hound, which I think played off of that really well too. So you see that character is still very much.
And then you had that
there.
Arya Gendry reunion. Which
Yeah, that was cool.
they're gonna fuck. So
Yeah, he's
Oh,
been
she
real.
was definitely flirting there.
Oh yeah, she's like.
Getting a little sassy.
let's get
So
those
what-
two on a boat.
Well, we can come back to this if you guys want. If this warrants more discussion, but what was it that she had tried to have him make? Do you guys know?
I don't really know.
No, I
It was
wasn't
kinda
really
crazy.
100% on that.
It
either.
reminded me of Sekiro or Bloodborne, some kind of crazy, like trick weapon. I mean, it was some kind of double-bladed spear, maybe.
Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, I guess Jared, you've read all of the books, right? I believe.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, the show
guess you're
is
in-
past
you're
the
in-
books as far as
That's-
story-wise. Like,
But like, you don't know of any
6 or something.
foreshadowing. If anybody out there does, if anybody knows what the hell is going on, if there's been something
yeah,
foreshadowed.
I mean, there were a couple of, I think, kind of meta shout-outs in the show that I can point out later, but yeah, as far as her like getting some kind of ultimate weapon, like it was some kind of Final Fantasy game. Like I don't know. She just has her normal. I mean, needle is kind of her thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really know what that was all about.
Hmm.
And then Jamie kind of came in at the end. I like
Oh,
Jamie a lot.
that moment was actually maybe one of my favorite moments of the episode, where, because the setup to me, and maybe it wasn't supposed to work like this, or maybe it was, but the way I viewed that goes back to with Bran, with him having his conversation with Sam, where he says, "Oh, what are you doing out here?" And he says, "Waiting for an old friend." And I took it as being he was waiting for Sam to come out, like, "Oh, I'm waiting for you to tell you that you need to do this."
No, I knew he was waiting for Jamie.
So I did not. So when
Mhm.
yeah, I did not. So when
That was
Jamie
clever.
walks up, yeah, I was like, "Oh fuck," like it blew. I mean, it wasn't like crazy, but there's something. I really like Bran, and I like how he also cut between Sansa and
Let's
Daenerys.
talk about Bran for
Let's
a
talk
second
about Bran.
because
Yeah, let's.
Yeah, this guy. Okay, he has no time for all this shit.
Yeah,
talking about
it was like
titles and what have you. He's
Bran
like,
the man.
everyone do not understand what the fuck is going on
he's
right
like, I've ascended to a higher plane, guys. Okay, so he's like, all of your like dick measuring.
it's like it's he says shit like this, but then nobody listens to him.
I know, because people don't fully understand what's going on with them.
No, I mean, but how can you not understand? Like, the wall just came crashing down. There's a dead army on the way.
now.
We don't have time for this.
There's an
Like,
ice dragon too.
Yeah, literally spells it out for them. It's like, how
Yeah.
can you not?
That's true.
How can you not take this guy serious?
I feel like
how are
somehow
we
they're.
having these. But whatever. I mean, I get it. Like, because ultimately, I think it's like,
It's kind of like what they've been doing the whole time. It's just with a one person.
I mean, I
It's like
understand that you
everyone
can't just-
can't really, except for the people that have seen these people, these fucking crazy White Walkers. Anyone that hasn't seen them still doesn't really get it, and that's kind of
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and
you
I
know what
also
mean?
think that
So if some little weird boy is telling you, "Oh, this is a big deal," they're like, "Okay, yeah, we
Well,
heard."
I also think that they're setting it up for that the Night King not being the big bad. Really, like they might deal with the Night King like midway through the season, and then have like the kingdom to deal with afterwards. And so when you set up these kind of little political storylines between, Dany being accepted in the North and her not being the true monarch or whatever, like what other reason to introduce those storylines unless you're going to get back to them? You know what I mean? Like there's no reason to really introduce it if it's just going to be like, oh, well, then we just beat the Night King and then it's over. then
Yeah, that's true. It's not going to be like the finale is not going to be them finally beating the Night King. I agree with
right,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I guess in that sense you do need to introduce them a little bit,
Mhm.
but I just feel like, and he's just underused, and because that's the other thing is you can't really get Bran in a room with anybody because it's brilliant putting him outside, right? Because he's never around anybody. Because if you ever get him one-on-one, he'll just drop every piece of action that's happened to that character and about that character to that character's face, like right to him. You know, like that's who he is.
Yeah,
It's like
that's true.
he's literally like a fucking Google search. So it's like if you get any character in a room with Google search, like they're gonna search their own name and they're gonna find all of the information that's happened. You know what I mean? So it's like you really do have to keep him just story wise and plot wise away from other people because he's just this huge what do they call it? Exposition bomb. Like that's just
Yeah.
like what he does. And unfortunately that's all they use him for. Like they don't use any
Well,
of his
so far,
right.
we still
Yeah.
don't know about.
But that's what I'm frustrated about. Is so far that's all he's ever used for. So like you can't have scenes or plots or storylines around him because he just knows everything. And
Right. And he's just going to call it like he sees it. He's not getting lost in the sauce with everybody else. Like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Well, he can't do that anymore. But he
Yeah.
could
and not to mention
morgue into something.
like
crazy.
he's just a blank face. So like for instance, the scene with Danny and Sam, like I can't remember John Bradley, that's his name, is the actor who plays Sam. Like that was a great scene for him, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought that was awesome.
Oh,
and
yeah.
but Bran doesn't get those reactions either. He's just like, oh yeah, that guy's dead.
Well, yeah.
You know.
I mean,
Yeah.
but it makes sense though. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that it's necessarily good or bad how they're playing him, but how he's playing that being played is good because
the
it's like,
actor's
what else
good.
are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can't react like a normal person anymore when you're seeing everything. Yeah, you might as well just be this weirdo like on the side. Like,
well, Bran is like,
everything out.
yeah. Well, it makes perfect sense for his character though, and I do, because you have to think that. I mean, yeah, I think we all
For
can
all
see.
we know, he is in a hawk or something right now.
Right, exactly.
At the same
I'm
time,
waiting to
right?
see something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, because maybe not. Like, I don't want them to do this sort of thing where they're eventually like reveal that Bran has secretly been up to all kinds of stuff, because that would feel a little like Deus Ex Machina. Oh, Bran's actually been mystically controlling ogres and has an ogre army. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, and I mean, I am worried about some shit like that. But not really. That seems a little jumping the shark for Game of Thrones, But it could happen. But Bran's character, I think, before we move off of him or whatever, he has been one of the most frustrating and also most interesting to me. Like through the whole series, where he was just nothing for a while, but he had this initial spark in the very first episode where it was like this big, huge catalyst. So he's been at the very center of the story from the beginning. I mean. And, he's evolved in this, the little lord role where he was kind of like the scared little boy, which, is, of course, obvious. And then he was being drugged around by, just all these side characters. And he just never seemed to be going anywhere, even though it always seemed like, oh, it's going to be cool. Bran's going to be this mystic ward, crazy, whatever. And then he finally gets it, which was seasons and seasons and seasons of waiting. And then now he's just sat in a, chair and just kind of basically caught other characters up on what's happened in history, which is, it's like, I get it, but he really needs
really frustrating.
Something else. Yeah. He needs a big payoff, or elsewise it's just
because because when you take a step back and look at the situation as it is now, it's like, oh, Bran is like central. He's key. He's like central to what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
Yet he was absent for a whole season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was a whole season he wasn't even in it. So it's like if you take these handful of characters that are really crucial, so Danny, Jon, Arya, and you had to put Bran in that category, but yet all those other characters have this big, long, like the show was about them, right. And him, it's like, he's just the problem with Bran. It's like he's just too powerful. Like you can't.
And it's almost like it's hard.
Yeah.
I guess I kind of get where it's hard for the show writers to do this, because it's like, how can you portray what he's been through in a dramatic way. You know what I mean? Like, you can't like really represent this just download of information or whatever in any kind of way that's as exciting as like these regular kind of people.
Yeah. Well, they did pretty well with it when they first introduced it, I think. Like, you got the concept of what's going on. You got these cool flashbacks where he's interacting, and you got all this Bran freaking out, and he was like this scared little boy, and then immediately had this just hard change of personality when he came out of, this transformation.
Robot Bran.
Yeah, and which was, I think, very cool for his story. Like, I don't think that was misdone at all. I think it maybe took a while. Like, the pacing felt weird.
Bran.
Bran. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he like, I just don't know. I don't know. This is a weird reference to
Agent Stark, I suppose.
Yeah, something, because you're right. You said it earlier. It's like he's like too powerful, because in theory he is the most powerful person alive at the time. Like, I mean, granted, Dany with her dragons,
and yet he gets like no screen time. Although I do love the shots of him just sitting in the courtyard, just stone cold.
Yeah, just.
I love it, man. He just stared Jaime Lannister down like, "Bitch, I have plans for you."
He said, "Oh, welcome."
And then, and I watched that scene, man, and like his facial expression doesn't change. Like,
no. He just stares straight
like
ahead.
a smirk or some kind of nope, just Robran.
No, but I think that's perfect for his character, though. Like, if you don't look into it as, oh, he's just flat facing his scenes, and you look at it as the character has literally been seeing this moment play out in his mind in a sort of hyper realistic fashion. Like, he may not see the future exactly that clearly, but he's this super sentient Dr. Manhattan-esque character, and in a way, like, I mean, of course, Dr. Manhattan was the whole other thing, but he has that same sort of thing where it surprises him, Well, Dr. Manhattan can dissolve his body and all these. I didn't mean like, I just was saying that he's not like, as far as we know. I mean, hell, I don't know, man. Maybe Bran can shapeshift. Like, I don't know. Like, you guys know more about the lore of, say he can things he can do. I have no idea, but still,
it's dumb. But so let's just move on to a couple other characters.
I guess we gotta.
Tyrion is just a bitch now. That's unfortunate. I used to, like, R.I.P. Tyrion. Like,
no, maybe he's coming.
He's gonna have this is the beginning of his, like, he's got to reaffirm. He's been sitting too high on his horse. He definitely needs to have another victory. And to have a victory, he has to come down a little bit, I think. Because he's been fucking killing it. I mean,
he's not been killing it. He's been making some bad recommendations, though.
And one of my favorite characters in general, but just her point is just like so kind of to the point. He's just like, oh, you thought her army was actually coming? I thought you were smart. Like, I thought you were clever.
I used to think you were the cleverest man alive.
Yeah.
That's a class. When she said that, I was like,
that just puts his character in its place over the last 2 seasons.
Well, right, it does.
I thought you were clever, but you're not. You're just some idiot. Yeah. It's just like useless at this point.
Well, yeah, you're getting duped.
And also, it's like a role reversal from when she used to be super clever, and she was just a scared little girl, in way over her head, And now it's like she's like, wizened up,
and then
he's the one been making bad recommendations.
Yeah,
the next episode thing, they showed Tyrion on the parapets or whatever, and it's like, I mean, but I just feel like there's no redemption for him. So. I know, but what is he gonna do? Like, what can he do? Like, where can he go?
He could do something brave and heroic.
Like, obviously there's gonna be some kind of Jaime Tyrion team up, I feel like.
Well, I think there's gonna be a definite, I mean, there's no way to not reconcile the story arc all with the 3 of the siblings some way. I feel like they have to get, their stories are going to get very, very close. Like, if they're not all 3 in the same room at the same time in the next couple episodes or by the end of the season, like, I'll be fairly shocked.
Yeah, because while the show is about the Starks, it's also about the Lannisters as well. It's like those are the 2 families that the show is mainly about. And so you got to wrap up that part of the family, and it's just frustrating that, like, Cersei and Tyrion used to be such good characters, and they're so stupid now. Like,
I'm not a big fan of Cersei.
This era. Yeah, it's frustrating.
Well, who's ever really
Jaime, however?
Well, I mean, but her writing,
Cersei,
I think,
as a character is good. Like,
yes,
she's interesting.
But I don't think she's all that interesting anymore. She's now turned into the sort of Black Widow queen where she's just devouring
she's
just the
and
evil
just this,
queen now.
which is fine. And I
With
mean,
an
but she
evil
has to have
pirate.
something. Yeah, well, and she's got a fucking zombie.
Yeah.
Like
Evil
it's just like,
hipster
come
pirate.
Yeah,
that
she's got a
just
hipster
fucking-
pirate on her left and a zombie knight on her right.
on. And then the classic dark magician, as her. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Well, okay, what's gonna happen with this baby though? That's the only
the one
thing
scene
left
with
about with
Euron
Euron talking about I'm gonna make a prince
and
in his
Cersei's and
belly.
Lena Headey's face at the end of that scene.
She's
that was
like, oh,
quite expressive. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Well, does she have the baby? Like, she already has the baby at that point, right?
What?
Like, she's already pregnant at that point.
She's pregnant. Yeah. Oh, I thought you meant she'd had it, and I was like, no, man, what are you talking about? But yeah.
So is
but
she
also,
like,
no one knows.
kind of deciding that,
and I
she's
think
gonna
she
say
was also
that,
trying to read him. Like, does this guy already know something? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Wait. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I think so. This is where Cersei is interesting in ways. Is like her story arcs coming literally in that scene. In any one of those scenes, could have gone with her just getting up and just cutting his throat. Like I'm like I mean, when he makes that Prince joke, she could easily like just that scene could have ended with her sneaking up behind him and just fucking gutting him like a fish. Like. I mean, and maybe the writers disagree, like, oh, this is supposed to be a whatever for her. I mean, that's fine. But like, to me, like when she's blown up religion, she's, blown up the whole church or the whole chapel or whatever it was. I mean, Cersei is the definition of
great
whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. Whatever.
Okay,
Point is,
first
like,
his name. All right. Then get it right.
but she can do anything, right? So that's where she is interesting. So, like, I don't know. Is she planning on keeping this, saying that it's his,
I think,
or what?
that's
Who knows?
Is she deciding? Is she really cutting Jamie out of her life? Because I mean, if she says the baby's Euron's, then that's kind of the ultimate, like, fuck you, Jamie.
Exactly.
Well, she also sent Bronn theoretically to kill both of them. So that sounds like a pretty straight.
Yeah.
I'm cutting you out of my life to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and let's
forgot about that part.
call it what. Bronn's not killing either one of those guys.
You don't think
That's
so?
just- no way.
I wonder, man. I know it. I get it. It would
I
seem
mean, maybe though. You never know.
like that's what I
If
almost.
character does, then I'm really disappointed with it because
I kind of
if you
agree.
think about it, is Bronn?
Well, sure, but
Bronn
you're
has
thinking of it
spent.
as like a regular show.
I know, but Bronn has spent the entire show, all 7 seasons up to this point, serving either one of those two guys. Like he was Tyrion's sidekick at first, and then he was Jaime's sidekick after that.
That's true.
So he spent 7 seasons as both of these guys' sidekicks. And then you're going to tell me in one season, the person that he obviously shows animosity towards the whole time, like he doesn't like Cersei, like his character doesn't, at least. And so you're going to tell me that he's going to turn his back on the two people that he actually likes, because there's in the last episode of season 7, he has jokes with both of them or whatever. And so you're going to tell me that guy is all of a sudden just going to be like, oh yeah, these two guys that I spent 7 seasons being loyal to, I'm just going to fucking kill them now. Like, no way, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's extremely.
I mean, I
unlikely.
doubt
agree,
it, but I'm just saying we gotta be open for anything. You never know.
Well, I think this is where, because Bronn is this classic, interesting character where he is, this sellsword rogue guy who, notoriously doesn't fight with honor, who swears that he only goes by money and all these different things. But then he, of course, has these hints of actually having like a deep sense of honor, at least in a certain way, and of, being perhaps like a really genuinely good guy. But he's got these, so he's the classic, like, good guy but bad guy type thing, whatever. I don't know what you call it. I'm sure there's some sort of writing trope that you can put Bronn in, but you know what I mean. But
great character.
Interesting thing would, I don't think he should kill either of them. I don't think that would be a good wrap up to his story. But him taking an honest last minute shot at one of them and trying would be interesting for his character, because it, I think it would be, I don't think it'd be great writing. I really don't know, but it could be interesting to see how they play it off, because that it has to deal with this whole innate concept we've had of Bronn, which is that ultimately he is in fact loyal to Tyrion and Jaime, which even though he says he's not, but it's like, I don't know. I just think it would be interesting for it to end up being him being like, yeah, I actually do choose the money. And I don't know. I just think that would be really interesting.
I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean,
It could be that neither of them survive the
yeah. Well,
thing.
And he just takes credit for it. Would that be wild?
Yeah, there's also
It might just become a moot point, totally.
yeah, that is true. I don't think that they would introduce the storyline if those two aren't going to be there, though. I don't think that.
That's true.
You don't
I think there'll be
send
a
him up
meeting
there.
for sure. It's got to.
You don't like just send him up there to be like,
Well,
oh,
it could be
they're both dead, and then
the
he turns
point
around
of
and comes
that
back.
is to signal how done with Jamie Cersei. You know.
Well, yeah,
I mean, I
I
don't
get that. And then the other kind of disappointing storyline is fucking Theon, dude.
You think so?
Like, what was that? Like, what
Well,
was
he
this
came
like?
back.
Yara's captured, and now she's not. Like, now she's back.
Well, it wasn't the greatest arc, I admit, but it was.
Before we go to that, can we just quick talk about Yara with the plan B? You know, like, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of think that's an important point. Like, what if we fail? What if everyone against this whole, like,
Oh, Yara
you know,
says,
the going to the
you know?
Iron Islands.
Yeah, like, it's not a bad idea. Like, there's no really expectation of success here. So it's like no one has come up with any kind of plan for if they just fail.
Well, because most people are
that,
looking
you know?
at it as like they don't have the resources to even begin to think about that. It's not like
Right.
they probably haven't debated it, but like John being the perfect character to illustrate that, he's
well, it's
all
like half of them
we
are still
don't have
not
time.
even thinking it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, that's true. So they're just like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
either these guys will save us or it's not going to happen at all anyway, and like what the fuck ever.
Right.
So, but you're right. That when
But yeah,
she
I mean,
said
I
that,
think
I was
it's
like,
pretty
yes,
clutch. Like,
yes.
okay,
yeah.
It'll
we
happen
might need these islands
some
here,
point.
but
Like somebody's going to have to retreat to that island at some point, or it's a wasted thing. Like at some point, like Dany or something is going to be on the run, you know, on the lam, riding on the back of a dragon, and she's going to have to, you know, land on an iron. Like,
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think so either, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
I think at some point somebody will
might
need it.
need to utilize it. Yeah.
It's a good way to write. Like, I don't think we'll see Yara for the rest of the season. I think she's done now. Like, maybe like the last
For the
episode.
wrap up or something.
Yeah, but I think she's
Yeah.
done with it now. Yeah, man, it was just frustrating because it's like, yeah, you just
He just like comes
you
back.
introduce this character, make her kind of a big deal, spend all this time on her, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm rescued and I'm peacing out." Like, go do it, Theon. Like, her whole thing was
I
to
did
just
like
to
her
tell
headbutt,
Theon.
though, too. It's
Oh,
like,
well,
you
yeah,
fucking
Yara's
dick.
great. That's why I'm so upset about it. is
Yeah.
Yara is great, and then she's just like not in it now.
Well, I don't know, because she has to take the Iron Islands back from Euron, who's also receiving a fair amount of screen time, who also has been talking about the islands. So it's not as if they're I don't know. I don't think that it will be just a straight wrap up for her now that I think about it. I mean, she may not have significant screen time, but, you know, they have to clash at some point. And if there is going to be LOL, come back to this island. I killed Euron. It's safe now. But, you know, there's going to have to be
what if who retreats is Cersei and she kills Cersei or something?
Yeah, because like she thinks Euron's
Right?
there and
That's
has
not
it, and
crazy
he
as
retreats
that,
there,
yeah.
and Yara's like, "Yeah, that's
I mean,
cut her head off."
Now's
Like,
the time for wild projections, right?
Yeah.
yeah. Yara kills Cersei. There we go.
Theon's
new
definitely
side
gonna do
bitch.
something. I hope Theon and Varys get together. Just like eunuch team unite.
Dude, no.
Like
what's
between
gonna
the
happen?
two of us men, we have 0 balls. Like,
Can we just
let's
talk about
kick
the first
some ass.
actual words spoken in this whole episode was a ball joke? How about that?
Yes.
First dialogue of the
That
season
was-
is a ball.
That
joke.
was ballsy.
Talking about free. Oh, zing.
Got me.
No, I have a prediction for Theon. So
Oh, yeah?
he's gonna walk into Winterfell, and Jon Snow is going to immediately cut his head off. And that's gonna be the end of it. He's just gonna go, "Oh,
Been together though, right?
yeah, I think so." I can't remember, man. I think, yeah, I don't even know. Or Arya. I mean, God knows. You know, at this point, like, who knows? I mean, I do think he's going to have a successful reintegration. It would seem completely silly for them to string him so far out only to have him come back, because they could have killed him fucking 3 seasons ago.
Yeah.
To do it like
He's
that.
gotta do-
Why
he's
is
gotta
this
do
guy
something
still
about
alive?
Like, he has to have a major contribution, because if it's
True.
just like, oh, he comes back and fights as a good soldier along everybody else. It's like, that's the lamest shit I've ever
So
seen.
lame, yeah.
Yeah.
But he needs to have a major thing where he like sacrifices himself, or he comes in at a very crucial moment, or whatever. Like he needs something. Yeah, because
super brave.
God, it would be some of the worst writing in TV history as far as like high level shows. You know, it's like you have this character which people loved and hated, which is a great thing, and then have pity on it. It's like I like Theon. That's what I'm saying. Like he's this great dynamic character.
Alfie something.
Alfie, I don't remember. Alfie Allen, I believe.
That's right. Yeah, he's good. Two other characters I want to talk about before we move on here is Sansa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sansa's great now.
I love Sansa. I've always liked Sansa.
Shade.
She's had red hair this whole time, which is cool. But
she hates Dany.
Oh, and
yeah, I think she doesn't like Jon is the thing. She doesn't not like Jon. She hates what's happened. I don't think it's necessarily that, because she even that's my interpretation at least, is like of course she doesn't like Dany. Like it's not like, oh, I like Dany, but I hate what you did. It's more that she's like, dude, we said that you were the king. Like, the fuck is this?
Yeah.
You know?
And I like how much of Cersei she has in her. Like it's like she's the new Cersei. That's what Cersei's character to the show was before she was the evil stepmother queen. Like
yeah,
Cersei's always been evil though.
Yeah, but as far as like yeah, you're right. Like they have analogs to them.
Yeah, and not only that, but Sophie Turner did her best Lena Headey impression when that line, I pointed it out when it happened while I was watching it, but it was about the dragons. She was like, what do they even eat?
Yeah.
Like, sounded just like Lena Headey. Like, it was like almost you were doing an impression of Cersei Lannister.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it is like she definitely learned some like strength or something.
She did. I mean, because you got to think like she thought of Cersei as going to be essentially her her mother-in-law. Sorry, and they had some scenes where it's not like Cersei was ever like truly sweet and kind to her, but like they have these. You could see how maybe Sansa did end up like in some weird way, not necessarily looking up to her, but like learned from her, like, and she was like molded by this perception of Cersei as a young girl. So if you look at it as that, Cersei was this powerful presence, even up until all these terrible things happened, like it makes sense for her to almost like start emulating that, even if it's unintentional to her character. Like if she's not even trying to, it makes sense for like she is now she has to be what Cersei has to be, which is this like fiercely strong, like just fighting for every inch because nobody wants to give it to her because she's looked upon as the wife or
and what I think is going to be interesting with her and what it's setting up with her is how she's going to see Jon now, because we've all said that like she's got tensions with Jon, she's not a big fan of Jon's, and now like the one thing Sansa? Or she's had tension with him, like they've had tensions, but
I would still say
she loves him, but I'm saying the bond that binds them is their family, and I mean they aren't family like they thought they were. I mean, I guess they still are.
They're cousins.
But
they still grew up together.
Yeah, which I think is, Arya, of course, points that out. She's like, I hope you remember that or whatever.
Right. Well, I think that is going to be crucial to Sansa. Like that idea is like, remember that he's a part of this family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I do think she's going to turn, because Jon's not going to do the right thing at first. Like he can't just be Captain Perfect, always making the hard calls. He's not going to go up to Daenerys and be like, bitch, I'm the king. Like, give me your crown. And if he does, she's not going to be convinced or whatever. It's not going to be that easy.
Crown on the ground,
he's almost certainly going to do something crazy.
He is. Jon Targaryen is a wild man.
So, okay, wait. Do we really get into this much yet?
Well, no. I mean, we need to really... We can talk about it a little bit, but...
Yeah. I mean... Yeah, I mean, that came out as like a, obviously probably the most important chunk of news that anyone could find out. Right?
Yeah. You're the fucking king of the known world.
And not only that, but this girl that you're in love with is what is she?
She's his aunt.
Aunt. Yeah.
Aunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that line
Yeah.
from Samuel, he says, "You gave your crown up to save
Dude, that was such a
Yeah,
powerful
Same.
line.
yeah.
That's an interesting.
Uh-huh.
That is
Because it definitely sheds a new light. Because people have said before in the past, and the criticism of Dany has been like, "Oh, she's supposed to be this good character, but yet she does these X, Y, Z things," and the show keeps trying to portray her as like being the just ruler, which is what Jon keeps trying to say. And you kind of, as the audience, accept Jon's point of view, and then here comes Sansa being like, "Yeah, but," or I mean, Samwell being like, "Yeah, but what about what you did and your attributes?" And she would she do that? Like that was such an incredible line.
And it's nice too because
Yeah.
like his only interaction with her is like her telling, "Hey, like I executed your father and brother," and so like he doesn't have the view of her that we do. So
Right.
he's coming at it like, "Hey, fuck
Like
this bitch!
maybe she's
Like
not
you're the
so
king.
perfect. Yeah.
You're the one in charge here." Like,
Well, even if he's not, I think his point is like,
yeah.
obviously, like even if you were,
But it helps him
would
say
you have
that.
done that? Yeah, it was that line, that interaction was also that whole scene was so incredible, just really rich of like information and like emotional things between the two characters because that's they're meeting for the first time and there's this king thing and the ant thing and then the challenging Daenerys's power thing. I mean, and then there's Jon looking like he's losing his mind for a second, like he might just knock Sam out, like for saying it,
Yeah.
And it's like these
Too
crazy.
much for
That
his
was a
little
great
brain.
scene. Yeah, like Jon Snow is about to do something crazy. I feel like.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
He's
I
a
think
man of wild
absolutely
action.
And what's so funny is that in like they really set that up well because throughout the whole episode, like him and Bran to another minor degree, like he is the one that keeps saying like, "Well, that doesn't matter," like,
Yeah.
Lyanna Mormont
Yeah.
is like, "Hey, what about?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, that doesn't matter." And then I think there's another scene where he's like, "Yeah, that's fine, but it doesn't matter. Like we've got bigger issues."
Yeah.
And now it's like all of a sudden something's going to take
It's
his mind off of the dead, and he's like, "Holy shit, this matters!" All of a sudden,
Yeah.
like,
Well,
or is he going to tell himself, "Wait a second, no, this doesn't matter," and then like refocus? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
what is he gonna do?
I think what makes sense for his character is that what's important about the revelation is not, and I think that's why the extra line about Sam mentioning like, would you have done that or whatever, and would you have given up yours? Would she give you gave yours up? Would she do the same? And yada yada. It's not so much about like, oh, by the way, Jon, here's a bomb. Like you're supposed to be the king, like not king of the north. Like you are supposed to be like
the whole bloody
the whole thing. And I think that revelation alone, Jon would be like, that's wild, and it'd blow his mind. But he'd ultimately very quickly come around to again being like, doesn't matter, because his character is so focused on like, because his whole character arc is built around that, like this unyielding, like truce with the wildlings, like going out and doing all these crazy things. His whole thing is like uncompromising, like this has to be done. All other optics, all other things, everything else doesn't matter. Like that's his character. And so if he was just like, oh, I'm supposed to be the king, all right, let's cause a rebellion. Like that makes no sense. Like the man took like 24 knives to the heart for the opposite thing. Like it would make any sense. So like he has to have this moral quandary where he's like, oh God, am I doing the right thing by supporting her? Like, are we going to lose the war because my people don't trust her? Like, are they going to turn their backs? Like, is it actually the best call? Because what actually may be the best is to force Daenerys to submit to being like whatever, and then that would be the true, because then the people would listen to him and then they'd all win, and that's the actual best thing. And if that becomes the best thing, like I do think that Jon will do whatever craziness he has to make that happen.
Yeah, and
I
think in his head has to be the amount of power now available to him, like to unite everyone else now. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like fuck all this other stuff. Now I'm the one with the legitimate claim, and let's all fucking still go and get the North. You know what I mean? Like, we still have to fight this war, but like now he might be saying like, oh, now I can really get everyone. Yeah, of course, but again, he's in love with Dany, and so then that's going to complicate things. Who knows?
Well, Dany's
going to go on there.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe they just get married, and that's really what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Although that seems like kind of a lame, like, boring.
Seems like the obvious answer.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just like, oh, but we're in love, so
for
You can
this
still
show.
be king. Yeah. Well, if Dany has any true continuity to her warpath, it's that she thinks that she's the rightful heir, and if she's not, then and it's her own bloodline that is, and still, then she
Throws
theoretically.
her motivations into question.
Right, because I mean, and granted, I understand the sort of steamroll effect where you've done all these things, and so if you could back her character into a corner with that question, she may say that may be so, but like I've lived my entire life up for this, and like it's what's happening now. Like
The question is like you were willing to give your life and everything when you were for the Seven Kingdoms when you were queen, but like, are you still willing to do that even if you aren't queen?
right
Now you're not the queen. Are you willing to do all of those sacrifices? Like it's not yours anymore. But,
right, and it wasn't supposed to be. It was not like somebody usurped you. Like you were talking about rightful heir. Your family's supposed to be the rulers. Like blah blah blah.
Right.
Well, all right. Well, here's your nephew, and he's supposed to be the king. Like so, her character does have a lot of interesting moments coming up, which I think a lot of the people who dislike Dany have problems. Those problems with her character could end up being exonerated or otherwise convinced or whatever, because she may have to face up to some of that kind of stuff of her just being like.
Yeah, and I think plot-wise, just as a quick, I think that just means that John's got to die. Like, it just makes things so much easier story-wise if he dies.
I don't
want Jon to die.
She could die.
Well, if he's dead, then she's the queen. She doesn't have to answer that question. Like, Sansa's just Queen of the North. She doesn't have to fucking deal with him anymore. Because even Lyanna Mormont points it out. She's like, what are you even? Like, what are you?
Yeah.
You
And
know?
you came back as what?
Yeah, like,
And
what'd you come
nothing?
back as? Like, yeah.
He's like Daenerys' like steward, or he's like her like.
Get this fucking guy out of here, dude.
Dude, Lyanna Mormont, can we take a moment to just talk about
she's
how awesome that character is?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
She's just continuously like no
Queen of the
bullshit.
North.
Dude, she's a little badass.
Yeah,
I mean,
what are you again?
Yeah, which is dead on though, because and it has to be said, and her character is like the embodiment, I think, of like
The North.
she's definitely the mouthpiece. Wow, I really can't say it. Mouthpiece for the North. Enunciation, kids. But yeah, because you don't have time to now at this point in the series to show a bunch of other people, which you may have been able to do in the past, like side characters.
Hatch out a council of the Northern Lords.
You don't have that anymore. Right, and you can't forget. And they've made such a big deal about how the Northern people are that to let it go now and to just have them be silent doesn't make sense. So you have to have these characters giving pushback. It has to have big story impact. Like that's why I think it's going to come to a head where Jon has to assume a stronger leadership role, or you're going to get these houses not showing up and not doing things.
Or already not showing up.
Right, exactly. Which is
the Glovas.
The Glovas, which I think that's all the more the point. It's like already, like here's a family that's like, nah, we're out, which of course, I do think there will be a moment when Jon has his, which I'm kind of getting tired of the Jon thing where it goes, oh, everything's going bad, and then Jon saves the day by some sort of crazy compromise. He's done that a couple times, which is great. But it's like, how many more can we have it? Like, how many more times can it be that
true.
that the whole North starts to turn and not show up, and then Jon's like, all right, here's this Daenerys, like sit down, like I'm doing something crazy real fast, and then saves the day, and then everybody comes back together. Like, I mean, it's been.
I can't do a good Jon Snow. I don't have a good Jon Snow.
No, I don't either. I'm not even gonna try. I just did some sort of.
You need a good line for it. What's one of his good lines? Like,
Jon doesn't necessarily. I mean, I'm sure he does have good lines. He's, I don't know. There's no like classic thing that he says though. I mean,
he doesn't have like,
he doesn't have like
just something doesn't matter. Something doesn't matter. Like I can't think of it.
You make him sound crazy.
It's like the Hard Home episode. I think when he's like talking to the guy, and he's like, well, I don't know. I can't remember.
I don't know. But dude, Jon Snow, like his character, I think is like for the things that he's seen, the only thing like I like how his character is portrayed, but I do think that
he stop them. That's what it is.
Stop them?
It's like, yeah, you go, well, I won't stop them. And you won't stop them. That's what it is. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I don't know. No, I'm just like, John has gone from being kind of a side character-ish that was interesting and cool, and
He's clearly
you
the
know.
main character of the whole story. Cody.
Well, I mean, no, but I mean, like he's this. I mean, no, but I mean, maybe not the most interesting character, at least. Like, at least not for me, not early on. I mean, he had all these other things. Yeah, I mean, obviously, once he got to the wall and all that, which is given very early on. Still, I just don't. Do you guys think he's been that interesting this whole time? Like, I really don't think he was like that incredible.
No, not interesting, but
He
definitely.
is
Well, that's what I mean. I guess like
He is
he wasn't something that.
Some people say he is the Song of Ice and Fire. Like, he is the
Well, yeah, I would. That's the case. I mean, okay, I shouldn't have said side character. I guess I just mean that his story arc, when it got really good, is what makes his character, I think, truly and great in the show.
Yeah.
But now it's getting to the point where that character is like, to me, running out of steam. Like, he can't just be the good guy to the end. That's why Robb had to die like so early. He couldn't just be the great young upstart, young, rebellious king who keeps killing all of Tywin Lannister's men. Like, something had to happen at some point to knock him down. And I think that John's getting there.
I think John's on a one-way ticket to fucking Dead Train.
Yeah,
Dead Train. He's gonna
either that or he's
about to eat the old dirt
where
sandwich.
he's not just good. Like,
or he becomes like the bad guy. Yeah, almost.
He does sacrifice somebody else or something.
He just fucking backstabs Daenerys. Can you imagine that?
To build a man up for 7.5 seasons and then switch him to the bad side at the very end.
I'm not saying bad.
just-
It's like a hard decision, like where there is no right or wrong answer.
Like, what if Daenerys goes straight War Queen and is like, no, and tearing shit off? Does he go straight Kingslayer? Does he go Jaime Lannister full circle and just like, you know what I mean? Like, what, like that? Like, it keeps saying Daenerys isn't that character, and I don't think she is. I think that would be pretty sloppy writing as well. But I don't know, man. They're setting
I think that her desire for the crown is going to get in the way. Like that.
Yeah, I agree.
That makes sense for her character, I think, and that's going to be interesting.
And like, he's obviously like, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not going to be like that's what I definitely think is happening. Like, Jon Snow is going to kill Daenerys, but I mean, hell, I don't know, man. Jon has proven himself a wild decision maker.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jon, I want to wrap this up with to talk about characters that weren't in the episode.
Oh, nice. No hot pie.
No hot pie. Hot pie is clearly the biggest fucking guy.
He's a favorite.
Hot pie. No, Brienne, not in the episode.
Yeah.
I think she was in the background, maybe of one shot.
I don't think so.
Maybe, but I mean, I guess she doesn't really have a whole lot of reunions going on. Brienne and Jaime, maybe, but I guess they'll save that for next episode. But the Night King, actually not in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
He put old fucking R.I.P. Ned Umber. My God, that guy got straight murdered. Oh my God, little Ned Umber got nailed to a wall.
Oh yeah, oh God.
What's crazy is you see him in the beginning of the episode alive, and then suddenly he's just.
Yeah, he has this like kind of cute Macaulay Culkin aspect to him, where they're like, little Ned. They're like. He finds us talking to Ned Umber. He like sticks his head out between the two big adult lords, like put some shaving cream on that kid, and he's like, Macaulay Culkin, come again.
Yeah, and then he's just pinned to the fucking wall.
Yeah, that was. Woo! That got me. It actually did make me jump.
It did make her jump.
I mean, I actually, for some reason, didn't expect it. I guess I didn't like startle me, but I did think there for a second. What's the old homeboy's name? I can remember it. The wildling, the red-haired. There we go. I was terrified for a second though that he was about to get killed in some bullshit. Demon kid on the wall stabs him in the back. It's like, come on.
Wouldn't that be so stupid?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think he was going to die, but I was like, oh, God, he's going to get stabbed or bitten or something crazy is going to happen here.
Bitten, like we're fucking walking down.
I don't know, man. I'm just saying, I didn't know, like, anything. You know what I mean? Like, I saw that kid's eyes open. I was like, Tormund, run, buddy.
Tormund's always good for some little comic relief, when he's like, he's got blue eyes. He's always got blue eyes.
Too. He's always got close calls. So, yeah, of course he'd be the one right there.
So who else not present?
Yeah,
No Night King.
No Night King, no Brienne, no Ghost. I know they said that they were going to have Ghost in this season. I was wanting to see the old direwolf, but
he's gonna come.
Oh, you know who I wanted to
Or the
see,
Night King.
and I hope we see.
Who knows what?
Yeah, something.
These
or
direwolves.
Nymeria, you know, the wolf
They
pack.
gotta have some real good last punches. You know what I mean? It better be. They better not just be walking on the side of the thing. And, you know, they better have some dramatic.
Now, I'm gonna claim like some sort of crazy wolf pack.
Yeah, because in the books, there's a big hint that, or there's a theory or hint that she will just warg into Nymeria and just live out her life as a direwolf, because she's kind of just a wild thing anyways, and she would just rather do that. So that'd be kind of an I mean, they don't introduce her warging powers in the show, and I think it's too late to introduce that at this point, so I don't think that'll actually happen.
Yeah.
But like her kind of like, you know, riding off. And I thought that in the teaser trailers where Arya's running through the keep, like looking all terrified, you know?
Yeah.
The only thing that I ever thought could scare her that much would be if Nymeria has been like resurrected and is chasing her through the Winterfell crypts. Like that would be pretty fucking cool.
That would be a wild thing, yeah.
Like a regular white or something. Like you think she could handle that, you know? Like she's a super badass assassin.
Her new crazy weapon.
Right, yeah. But like if her old direwolf was like chasing her through Winterfell, like that would be pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, that's a scene. That's true.
I hope that's what happened.
I don't know. I mean, I get it. It would stuff like that. It's hard, man, because there's like, while I would agree, I wish that the direwolves were in it more, as much as they made a hubbub about it in the beginning of the season, and then they tried to make there's the emotional toll that they took out of them when at the Red Wedding, and they killed them in the keep and all that kind of different stuff. Like they had these moments when but like at this point, like, does anyone really give a shit about Nymeria? Like, is her coming back as a white or whatever going to really be that emotionally like are we going to feel the same sort of payoff that Arya's character theoretically, not payoff, but I just don't think it'll emote the same, but neither will it if she comes back necessarily in just like, oh, I'm back, let's fight. Like, I definitely think it has to be this, if it's going to come back, like it has to be this thing where Arya is like, has had this, downfall. She's like on her last or something, and then Nymeria jumps out. I don't know. I really don't know. It's just, it can't just be like, oh, Arya gets chased down a hallway by Nymeria like that. That would, I mean, I know there'd be more buildup than all that. Like maybe they fight side by side for an episode or two, and then Nymeria gets killed and it comes back, and then that happens or something. But I don't know. Like direwolves are something that I just think the show just, and I guess maybe even the books like just didn't use as much as.
Oh, no,
the books use them a lot, right?
The wolves,
yeah.
Important.
Well,
they're like central to.
Well, I wish that the show had been. I mean, I guess I read before it was like budgeting issues and stuff. Yeah.
Well, because in the books, the all of the Stark children are wargs, so they can all warg into their wolves, and so it's very important. And I, Sansa being one of my favorite characters, like I've always keyed in on the fact that she loses hers very early. And so her journey is a lot different than all the rest of the Stark kids. But anyways, yeah, the wolves are really important to their like just symbology, and they're very important in that story. But in this story, they're not.
Mm-hmm. Because of budget issues.
Well, yeah, and because I think literarily those wolves like are very symbolic. Like there's a he uses them as like a literary tool to key you in on certain aspects of certain characters, and it's like also a nice way to tie other storylines together, because you have like Arya going one way and you have like Brienne and Jaime going the other, and then in between there's these wolves running around, so it's a good way to connect the two stories. But yeah, in this, it's just like you don't really need them. And I mean, I know that there are budget concerns too. And yeah, because in the TV show, they're just kind of cool extra pets. Like they're not really important for the story, so they leave them out. Like I can see that. But, for fans of the books and stuff, they are kind of a cool throw in. But that's about as important as I think they would ever be.
Did you want to say something about the elephant?
Oh, the elephant thing, yeah. So this is another book thing for book fans out there. When Euron arrives in King's Landing, and he tells Cersei, and he brings Harry Strickland, the captain of the Golden Company. And in the books, they're famous for they have elephants because they're a sellsword company, so they ride all of these elephants. Think like Lord of the Rings, Return of the King at the very end when Sauron's gathering all of his sellsword pirates and they have elephants. Like it's supposed to be a very similar aspect to it, where they have all this exotic weaponry and exotic whatever. They're all dressed in gold, and then Cersei almost talking to the audience and talking to those people are like, oh, so we have elephants? Because book fans would have that expectation of, oh, well, the Golden Company's here. They have elephants. Like, we're going to get to see elephants. It's going to be great. And so Cersei almost talking to the fan, they're like, oh, so you have elephants? And he's like, no, they would have been too hard to travel across sea. Which is a reason the fan base always uses, like, oh no, elephants don't make any sense. It would be so hard to bring elephants across a sea on boats. There's no way they could have elephants. And then it turns out they don't have the elephants. And then Cersei even says the line like, oh, well, I heard you had elephants. And he's like, yeah, we don't have them though. It's kind of like a meta moment, you know.
Like,
that's interesting.
Yeah. Like she's disappointed. Everybody's disappointed that we don't get to see golden elephants. Like whatever. Like we've got dragons. We're gonna have dire wolves. We're gonna have undead dragons. Like fuck your elephants, dude. Like maybe they'll have ice spiders. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But anyways, just I guess that's about it. If you guys want to wrap it up, you guys want to give it a rating? Just general thoughts.
Yeah, sure. I mean, as an introductory episode to the season, yeah, I think it was good. I mean, I would say we're going out of 10. You just want to do like a loved it, hate it kind of thing. I don't know. I'd say for what I wanted out of this first episode and all that, I mean, I would say maybe like a 7.5. Like it didn't just like, it wasn't something that just like blew my mind out. But like, you know, but I do think that it did everything that I wanted it to. Like you had these good interactions with characters. I mean, I guess if you rate it strictly as like an intro episode to a season, I'd probably rate it higher because I don't want it to just necessarily be action packed. So I think if I'm only looking at it as the opener of a season, then it's probably something like an 8.5, something like that. But yeah, as like an episode in general, I mean, it was cool. You had a lot of cool moments, and there was some emotional payoff. And you know, of course, the big reveal for Jon was, I mean, books and seasons of waiting, but yeah, I mean, I don't think it was just like incredible, but I was definitely I'm definitely very happy with it. Like it was good. That's my takeaway.
I kind of agree. I'd probably put it somewhere similar, like either maybe even 7 or 7.5, just because I feel like it's got so many places to go. Like it can be so much better, you know what I mean? Like it was a good show, and yeah, I agree with the thing about being an intro episode and having to like kind of reestablish, okay, where are we at, what are we doing, this is the characters, this is the reunion, blah blah blah. But I mean, when we think about like the best episodes of Game of Thrones, like is it close to that? No, you know what I mean? So I'm just gonna put it low at 7 and hope that these next ones really kind of blow us out of the water. And
yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Like I echo what everybody else says. As an introductory episode, I would think it served especially well. Like I think it was an especially good introductory episode because it really, really pushed the action forward to where like we don't have to do any of that expositional shit anymore. Whereas sometimes that stuff will bleed into like other storylines, you know? Yeah. And like in other episodes where, you know, certain characters aren't introduced in episode 1, so they got to get introduced in episode 2. So like we got all of that out of the way. So like, and there are a lot of good reunions. So, you know, in general, I'm going to give it as a first episode, you know, probably like an 8. I was happy with it. But all right, well, that's our initial Throne Glow. Check out our other Glowcasts. whenever we get those up. But
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
meantime, hope you enjoyed
Check
yourself.
us out next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be doing these recording them after every episode, getting them up as soon as we can. Hopefully, probably the next day. But
Throwing hot takes. You've heard it here.
Yeah.
Over now.
For JT in the dome, this is 504. Good to go. Glow. Good to glow.
Good to go.
The Dupe Sesh. Glow.